Are you tired of all gray houses, all white houses, all beige houses, but you just have no idea how to use color in your space? Today's video is for you because I'm going to show you how to come up with the perfect color scheme. If that seems up your alley, please don't forget to smash that subscribe button because I create new videos every Monday and Thursday. But let's get into today's video. Now, the best way to start off this video is to talk to you about the colors. So how do we come up with the colors that make up the color schemes that we create? Well, first it starts with our primary colors. Our primary colors are blue, red, and yellow. Then we have the secondary colors. These are the colors that we get from combining the primary colors with one another. So red and blue together make purple. Red and yellow together make orange. And yellow and blue together make green. So that's how we come up with those colors. Beyond that, we have different hues and tones and shades of those colors, but those are the basic colors that we start with when we're looking at the color wheel. I promise you, if you open up a color wheel while you're watching this video and while you're doing any design project, it's all going to click so much more because the color wheel is your friend, and that is kind of the framework for coming up with a good color scheme. So a monochromatic color scheme is a color scheme that uses one color, but you use different shades and tones of that color. So that means you're adding varying amounts of black and gray to that color to get variations of that color. So we've all seen monochromatic color schemes before. It's when a house is all pink, or it's all blue, or it's all green, or it's all one color, right? But it doesn't fall flat and it doesn't look boring. The way to master a monochromatic color scheme is to layer, obviously, as I said, different shades and tones of that color, but also to layer it with different textures. When you see a monochromatic space, a lot of the time you'll see velvet, you'll see linen, you'll see jute, you'll see cotton, you'll see so many different fabrics, so many different stones and metals to really make it a lot more visually interesting. You're using the same color over and over and over again. So the only way to make it interesting is to use that color in novel ways. Now, I'll be honest, a monochromatic space is not a space that I would recommend for most people just because color has so much power and it really can evoke a lot of positive and negative emotions for us. So a lot of people tend to benefit a little bit more from having more color in their homes. And I know that's coming from a person who is almost entirely not into color. Next, I want to talk about the complementary color scheme. And I want to talk about complementary color schemes because this is the color scheme that most of you will take advantage of because this is the easiest one, and honestly this is the one that I find most aesthetically pleasing, though that's just my opinion. A complementary color scheme is made out of two colors that sit directly across from one another on the color wheel. So they are diagonal from one another on that color wheel. Good examples of complementary colors are blue and orange, red and green, violet and yellow. Those are examples of complementary colors. Now, my best example of this is just think about Christmas. If you're a Christmas celebrator or if you've just existed in a world where Christmas does exist, right? Red and green go together beautifully. Those are our Christmas colors. They resonate with us, and they resonate because they are complementary colors. So they just work wonderfully together. One of my favorite color pairings is actually blue and orange. And we've already talked about monochromatic color schemes, and they are beautiful when done correctly, but as I said, it can be very difficult to have the layer of detail necessary to really bring a monochromatic color scheme to life. That's why when we're using complementary color schemes, we'll choose a color like blue and we'll add orange accents. These accents can appear in your rug, in your lighting, in your textiles. It doesn't mean that you have to have an entirely blue and orange room. It also doesn't mean that you can't use different shades and tones of those colors, because you certainly can. You should still be layering things just as you would in that monochromatic color scheme, but you're just choosing colors that sit diagonal from one another on that color wheel. There are so many examples of this where it just works beautifully because they do complement each other as they're complementary colors. Another major hallmark of complementary color schemes is that there is a warm color and a cool color. So we just talked about blue and orange. Blue is a cool color, whereas orange is a warm color. So we're getting the contrast there, which contributes to the visual interest and brings a sense of warmth and also calamity to a space. The next type of color scheme I want to talk about is the analogous color scheme. And I love analogous color schemes. These are the color schemes that honestly you see a lot of the time in your Architectural Digest, your Elle Decor, your Vogue. These are the ones that just kind of are vibrant and they really bring a space to life. So an analogous color scheme is a color scheme in which you use colors that sit right beside one another on the color scheme, and you tend to use them in a grouping of 3. So when you're creating an analogous color scheme, you normally have a dominant color. So that's normally a primary color. So again, the primary colors are red, blue, and yellow, right? So we normally have a primary color and then we have two other colors, whether that be a secondary color, a tertiary color, and so forth. I didn't touch on tertiary colors, but again, I gave you the primary and secondary colors so you can just kind of infer from there. So we will always choose a dominating color, right? It is unrealistic when it comes to color schemes to evenly using all of the colors, because it just becomes way too technical. It becomes too overwhelming, right? And we don't want to be overwhelmed in this process, because that's why we're watching this video in the first place, because we are already overwhelmed. So we will use a dominating color and then we will have the other two colors kind of assist. So if we choose blue as our dominating color, again, because it is a primary color, then we may use green and purple as the accent colors, the supporting colors. But this is just where you're relying on these three colors to bring your design to life. As per usual, you can still use white and black in these spaces as well to kind of balance it out if you want more neutral elements, but that is how you build that type of color scheme. The next type of color scheme you can use in your home is the Triadic color scheme. And again, you want to have your color wheel open for this one, because that is a color scheme that is made by looking at a triangle on the color wheel. So get out your color wheel, print one out, use your iPad, use your phone, and draw a triangle. You can actually rotate your triangle and come up with triadic color schemes in that way. And I think it's important to note that I am talking about an equilateral triangle. That is the type of triangle you want to draw. So if you're trying to draw something kind of out there, that is not what I mean. Just as we did with the analogous color scheme, where we chose one dominant color and two accessory colors, that's the same thing we want to do with the triadic color scheme as well. The next type of color scheme is kind of similar to the triadic color scheme, but that is the tetratic color scheme. So instead of having three, you have four colors. A lot of the time, it will just be two groupings of complementary colors. So we might have blue, orange, green, and red, because those are two groups of complementary colors, and those are the colors that you will use to build a color scheme. The last type of color scheme I want to talk about is the split complementary color scheme. So to come up with a split complementary color scheme, this one is probably the most difficult to understand. So you're going to choose a color and then you're going to find its complementary color. So that is the color that sits opposite on the color wheel, as I said before. Then instead of choosing that color that sits opposite on the color wheel, you're going to find those two colors, one that sits to the left and one that sits to the right, and you're going to use those. So you're going to have three colors in your color scheme, but instead of it being complementary, you're going to choose one color, you're going to choose its opposite, and then those two supporting colors on either side of that complementary color. Hopefully the graphics helps with this one, but that's how you come up with a split complementary color scheme. And as I've said already, we're going to choose one dominant color and build from there. When it comes to creating color schemes, those are the fundamentals. Of course, it can get a lot more complicated, but I'm telling you, start there. Use that color wheel, use it as a tool to build your color palette. This way, the next time you're painting a room, you're not sitting there like, oh, these colors are not working for me. I can't build a space. I'm just gonna give up. Use the color wheel. It is the best tool, and it's a tool that every single interior designer and stylist uses for every single one of their projects. Let me know down in the comments if you learned something in today's video, and what is your key takeaway. I hope you're feeling a lot more confident when it comes to using color, and still, if you don't like color, don't use it, but at least now you know how to do so. If you liked today's video, please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and check me out on Instagram, and until next time, have a beautiful day.